You know what? After all of the chaos, after all of the literal windstorms that are hitting my apartment currently as we speak, I feel like I'm in a generous mood today.
Ooh,
Will,
Jack.
do you want to introduce us this episode?
Oh my God. Oh my!
Do you
I
want
never
to
thought.
do an introduction?
All right, hold on. What's going on, guys? It is me, Will West here, and as always, I'm with Jack Powell. Welcome back to the Stacks, the Stack Watch. The reason why everyone tunes in to the internet Friday mornings at noon. Mr. Jack Powell, how are you today? I don't like that blank stare I'm getting back.
This is crazy.
Oh,
This storm is nuts.
okay. It froze at the worst possible screen. It was a
Right
scary
as it was
time.
starting. Yeah, yeah.
Mr.
Want to
Jack
try it
Powell,
again?
try it again.
Yeah, try it again.
I can't yell though.
All
How's
right.
it going, everyone? It is me, the Melon Man, Will the Weary West, Will the Cool Guy West, whatever you want to call me, Will West. All of it is correct. Mr. StockWatch himself. Hey, that's what I heard on the streets, at least. And with me, as always, I have Mr. Jack Powell. Mr. Jack, how have you been? I know you're stuck in a windstorm right now.
Yeah, let's
Oh,
currently there are giant rainstorms all around my house. Wednesday, when I was watching the episode, well, you could say watching was a strong word. Half of it was cut out by the weather guy at a station doing special reports. It was funny. Right as the challenge was at its peak, right as God was about to win the challenge on Wednesday, the weather guy cuts in and he goes, we're going to talk about a tornado that's an hour away. So I rewatched the episode, and now I am keenly aware of everything that is going on.
I would like to give a special shout out to Randy Bruce as well, and the new Survivor Now analyst. I think her name is Avery, for filling Jack in on what was happening throughout the episode, as I was laughing the entire time. It was a fun time to be in the Survivor Now group chat. Let me tell you,
it was miserable for me. It was miserable for me. But good introduction, Will. Yes, so we are in episode 2. We're now in the thick of it. We're now starting to dig our toes into a little bit of the nitty gritty again. Let's just say this podcast is going to be interesting. I may cut out a couple times. I don't think my service was bad last time. Don't think it's going to be any better this time, especially with the torrential storm and my windows literally caving in. So things are not going to go well. But we are here to cover the stocks on what I thought was a pretty, I don't know, it was a pretty good episode 2, but it was one of the most, it was the one of the oldest tales oldest time in
yeah.
Survivor history with who got eliminated this episode. You want to take us through that?
Yeah, so it was a very linear episode, I would say, in terms of narrative and what was happening. One of those episodes where if you were at all relevant to the storyline, you were shown a lot, and if you were not relevant, like the Red Tribe, you basically just get shafted, just like I think everyone except for Teeny and Rome, you know. But to start the episode, we wave goodbye to who I thought could have made huge waves with TK. If you want to put on the Survivor Now Stock Watch slideshow, in there.
Yeah. Let's get it set up here. So again, most professional season yet. We remind you all of the rule book. As always, the rule book is what we abide by. If we break the rule book at any point, we are literally banned from ever hosting this show again. So,
oh God,
keep that in mind.
Thank you.
Yes, now we have a fallen slide. We have TK. We'll talk about John as well. TK, yes, quite literally a Garrett Adelstein special for TK this episode. Fell apart right at the seams. Called himself the tribe leader. Thought he was in complete control. Thought he was going to be an untouchable. Said bro probably about 20 times in 1 minute, which is insane to me.
almost a world record. I mean, someone called Guinness.
It could be. Yeah, someone talked to Guinness. I'm sure it's a world record at this point.
Ask for Kyle Guinness. I'm on a first name basis with him, so he'll hook us up.
Yeah. Okay. I like it.
Thank you.
Yeah, but Will and I had like an interesting theory. We won't say it was crackpot, just it was interesting. That TK saying I make my own path in episode 1 was going to mean something. Maybe he be some kind of plucky underdog or something like that. Nope. Not the case at all. He made his own path by getting sent right to the slammer this episode, getting eliminated in 17th place. And honestly, I think we had it pretty right in terms of how it was going to happen. You know, like it was going to be the bros versus the girls. Gabe was going to side with the girls. I mean, the way it happened was a little interesting, but the result we predicted.
I will say I was a little sad when watching the episode because they kept referencing rocks. And I got excited. I thought that's like how Kyle was going to go. Just like random rock draw, final 17. Yeah, no. I thought TK would have made it a little further. I think he would have lasted until like late pre-merge. He would have been like the final boss of the pre-merge. And that's when like Gabe would swoop in with the girls on the Tuku tribe. Because honestly, I thought the Tuku tribe, physically, they have Kyle, they have Gabe, they have TK. The guys on Tuku, they are pretty jacked, pretty ripped. I would not expect them to lose a challenge so early on, especially when looking at like, I don't know, Lavo. Is Lavo doing good physically?
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I think the biggest thing this challenge that led to their failure was a true lack of harmony and communication on the snake. Because you could tell that TK was frustrated with Kyle and Gabe while they were maneuvering the snake. And if they had any kind of communication, I think they would have gotten through it. But yeah, I think the biggest thing to really take away from this is the dichotomy we've seen of how the boots have been conducted. Because in this episode, TK, you could argue, is one of the more physical players on Tuku, or was. He got eliminated. Whereas in episode 1, it was John, who was not as physically strong. And so that kind of tells you what each tribe may value more and where it may lead. I think Tuku is more inclined to keep the people that are about loyalty, about relationships, about social game.
Yep.
Maybe Gata is more interested in keeping the tribe strong. And so could that mean Andy makes it longer in the game?
We'll get to Andy, man. We'll get to him. Nice.
Yeah.
We'll get to Andy.
Do you have any final thoughts on TK and any final thoughts on John as well? We neglected to talk about him last episode, but now he is here. Whoop, I skipped.
It's all good. It's all good. Happened to the best of us. John, TK, you tried. R.I.P. Yeah. See you guys both on Survivor 50. It'll be a fun time.
Yeah, I think TK. Yeah, I think TK was a good character. I think he did what he needed to do. I really wish we saw more of John, but at the same time, I think his quote of having one glorious and perfect episode, I think it summed it up well. I think it was a pretty good episode and a pretty fun episode for John. I laughed a lot when he was on screen. So,
bro, the first boots as of late, man, they just haven't been missing. You get Hannah Rose, you get Bruce, you get David Jelinski. David the Monster Jelinski, And real quick, too, I want to share a comment from Jay, who thought TK was going to be a big threat who would make it to 7th place.
Yeah.
I could see that. I could see that with the whole, I make my own path kind of thing. I think the storyline was there. It's just, if he did not lose this challenge, if he didn't do everything wrong in terms of managing his relationships with, like, Tiana and Gabe, I could see it, but I honestly also could have saw like Kyle going instead of TK, but that leads to another theory. If we go to the next slide, Mr. Jack Powell.
Let's get into it
with the ghosts. Now, something I do a lot with the stock watches. Is whenever someone's just invisible for a while, whenever we have the ghosts, I just kind of rule them out. And I don't think about longevity when I talk about the ghosts because it's like they're not winning. But like Liz was shafted the entirety of Survivor 46 until the very end. Venus as well was shafted for a good while and only really came up whenever Tevin was in the picture. Tim Spicer, I don't think any one of us expected him to make it as long as he did and as far as he did. Do you see any longevity with Sol and Genevieve? Aisha's kind of the black sheep here, you know.
Before we get into that, we got to play the graphic.
I thank you for not cutting it off.
There we go. Any longevity for Sol or Genevieve? Sol is a big question mark for me. I truly have no idea. I mean, I think he could go decently far. I think he could get out sooner rather than later. I think he could make it to the end. I have no idea with Sol. Whereas Genevieve, I think, or I hope, this is a little bit of copium, maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit. I think they're protecting her.
This much?
Right at this moment. Yeah, I think the edit's protecting her a little bit. I think that they highlighted her connection with Rome in episode 1, like briefly. And then that kind of faded away and we haven't seen anything since. I think if we were to see how Genevieve could have a downfall really, really quickly soon, I think we could be seeing her go early, but we haven't. We haven't seen a lot. So my thought is there's a little bit of we're saving her for later type deal, and she might be invisible for a little bit before she gets there. Winning though,
yeah, like I could see it because that's just how it happens. Do I see a winner? No, they're very lucky so far that we haven't brought up the slashes yet because honestly,
yes,
I would have.
We'd be pretty gracious with the slashes.
I know. I would have cut Genevieve and Sol and honestly half the cast already. Aisha being a ghost too is a little weird. However, I think a cooldown episode, it's not necessary, but it's not a bad thing either. She did. We still
heard from her though.
We still heard from her. And as little as it was, honestly, Lavo did not really have a lot of screen time. And the screen time did have, it was the one-off story, the plot line with Teeny, Rome, and Keyshawn. And that's something we'll kind of get to later. But Aisha doesn't really have a role in that. And I think that's more circumstantial than anything else. I think if, Teeny trusted Aisha a little bit more, then Aisha would have just filled the role instead of Keyshawn.
I think when we're doing the ghosts, we keep in mind that it's only pertaining to this episode. So if Asia has a couple of confessionals next episode, she won't be a ghost. She'll have her own slide again. And eventually, I do hope that we come to the point where this slide disappears and that everyone has their own slide. But right now, we don't have that because if you get enough for it to matter in this episode, it'll be there. That's why Keyshawn isn't on here. He had a little bit of enough to matter this episode. The three of these, unfortunately, did not. And so that's why they're here. But
yes, Mr. Jack Powell.
But, Ghost isn't completely reserved for the people that are on the bottom of the contenders list. You could say that, oh gosh, what's a good example?
Erica from 41 got
Erica. Erica right around like final 10 or whatever, or something like that. I don't know. Didn't have anything. So yeah, I mean, we're waiting to see. But right now, Genevieve and Sol are teetering on the bottom. If they got nothing next episode that means anything, they are slashing up as part of StockWatch rules. So let's go ahead and move on here. We're going to go who actually has a slide, but all for the wrong reasons. We I don't get it. What's with the guys this season? Like TK's a mess, Rome's a mess, Andy's a mess. They're all on separate tribes. And
Gabe is like chaotic and very lucky to be in the position he's in. Yeah. I think Sam is going to have a downfall, maybe. The most level-headed guy I think so far, honestly, is probably Soul from like a little bit.
Or
it's either him or John. But
yeah, no, it's messy. Rome finds the idol or has the idol this episode, decides to keep it for just the one round. So he's guaranteed safe at the first tribal if he decides to play it on himself, obviously. But he decides to show Teeny, which they then tell Keyshawn about. Yep. Meaning, yet again, we have this beautiful survivor dilemma of every single fan screams at the TV, why are you telling people about your idol? And every single person on the show tells everybody about their idol. It's just, I think we just got to learn that that's how it is now. You go on that island, you're in that state of mind, and you... So... I said he's both on fire, both in-game and out. In-game because he's literally bursting into flames because he's ridiculous. And out because maybe he'll be on fire. You know, maybe he'll be on the Survivor 48 On Fire podcast.
Yeah, I think Rome.
Did we lose Will? Or did they lose me?
We lost you, dog.
Oh, we're back. All right. Go ahead and give your thoughts on that.
Yeah, you spaced out for a solid minute, talked like a robot, and now you're back. You know, Rome is a player who I think it's very flashy. He's a very flashy player, and I will concur with Jay here. It's because a bit where advantage requires help for finding idols and advantages. I just think it's the easiest way to build trust, but because it's so easy, it's very risky because we've seen it work before where it's like two people, they bro up, look for the idol. That's kind of how Sam and Sierra's relationship was defined to us. Like they were idol buddies, and as well as Sam's relationship with all the women on the Gada tribe. But Rome is just too flashy of a player. He's forgetting about the social part of the game and ostracized way too early. And honestly, if I'm being generous, I know we don't really talk longevity. I could see like late pre-merge, maybe mergatory boot, kind of like how Caleb was in 45.
Sure.
That's to be the most generous because Lavo, they're doing well competitively due to communication. And also Soul's just a beast, which I forget about.
Yeah, I think I think it's not by other people's volition that he's in this spot. And I think that's very clear for everyone to see. He has done this to himself because he has no tact. He has no social awareness of what's going on around him, what people think of him. And I think that's genuinely going to hurt him, even maybe when considering playing the idol. Because if he decides, you know what, maybe someone else is in trouble, maybe I can make the big move, play it on someone else, and he has no idea that he's been the target this whole time, that could fall back on him. That could get right back on him, and he'd be flat on his face. And so I hesitate to say that Rome will be guaranteed safe that first tribal council, Lavo, because you never really know what he's going to do with it. And now we go to Kyle, who had a very he was like, no, when TK got eliminated, which I thought was pretty funny. And Kyle's just in that kind of weird place where you were on the bottom of a vote, your number one just got blindsided, but you didn't do like anything crazy wrong.
Yeah.
I think you got in with the wrong people and trusted the wrong person.
Yeah. I think Kyle can rebound from this. I do think he can easily just go like, "Hey, sorry, Sue. Like, me and Tiki were tight." I think Sue would understand that as well. It's just I feel like right now he's stuck on the bottom. I don't know the exact kind of escape. Actually, kind of do. Caroline is kind of fractured with Gabe. She doesn't trust Gabe 100%. So that is a very possible crack. Who knows where Tiana stands in all of this? I don't think it's over for Kyle in terms of positioning and where he's at. It's just the fact that he's had one confessional or like two confessionals when he was a bigger part of the episode despite being blindsided. I know he's being protected, but we just still don't know anything about Kyle other than he's a good guy that we hear from everyone else in the tribe, which again it can be a benefit, but because he's so invisible, I'm still very weary and on the fence, despite him being 13 over Soul, Genevieve, and Rome.
Will Weary West here. Yes. I think it's a big thing. I think a comment I'm going to point out here is Jay's.
Yeah.
Again, secret scenes. We talk about it all the time. First time in 8 years, hasn't eaten meat. There you go. Right? Like that's, we would see that if there was any real shot. In terms of winner potential for Kyle, it's already incredibly low. I don't think it's happening. But
Yes.
in terms of longevity, I could see a scenario where, like Tiana this episode was talking all about how I don't want to hurt Kyle. I don't want to betray Kyle. I don't want Kyle to feel bad about what I'm about to do. And so Tiana could now side with Kyle now that TK, the big denominator, is gone, and maybe swing Caroline over and they could go for Gabe. Is plausible if Caroline isn't instantly like Gabe is my number one. I have to go with him. So keep an eye out for that for Kyle. Otherwise, it's bad news bears, and we could be seeing the end of Kyle a lot sooner than many people might think. Sierra did literally her content this episode was whatever Sam wants to do, I'm game for. And this is where I start to establish my tiers, right? So we have the ghosts that are not Asia from this episode that are straight bottom, nothing going on. We have the really hanging on by the tiniest thread, which is Kyle and Sierra. And we'll get to the next tiers soon enough. But Sierra, bonding with Sam, which is good, gets a weird react. Like when Sam brings up the idea of saving Andy with that one round idol potentially, Sierra's initially taken it back, which I think is her natural reaction. And I think she's like, this is not a good move for my game. But then she realizes, well, if it's what Sam wants to do, it's fine. Could work for her. Because again, hiding behind the meat shield, that is a showmance. We know it's not, but like a fomance, basically. Hiding behind that can be helpful for your game.
Yeah. I feel like we also heard that Sam was a bigger threat, albeit not from Sierra. But this could be a very classic shielding strategy from Sierra. How intentional is it is up to all of us. I'm personally waiting to hear a confessional from Sierra where she's like, hey, I know Sam's a big threat. However, I could see that as a benefit to my game because it is very beneficial for someone like Sierra to just cling on to Sam, gas Sam up, be like, Sam's a big threat, and then come merge. Sam gets sniped, and then Sierra can find another, ally, another pawn, another whoever, another shield. I just am a little worried about the lack of any content with Sierra. Again, everything we've heard about her is through Sam, is through the lens of someone else. However, it was a decent episode for her. She knows where the idol is. She knows about all the relationships happening on Gada. She knows that Annika and Rachel are a lot closer, which brings Sierra closer to Sam, right? And so we could see a new trio with Sam, Sierra, and Andy. We could see Sierra sticking with the girls. Sierra has a lot of outs, I think. It's just the fact that we have to dig through the episode to see that is a little worrisome.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing we could really use from Sierra to maybe propel her into a decent contender range is not even like a long-winded confessional of like, this is my whole game strategy. This is exactly what I've been doing. I'm the mastermind. We want a nice like sentence, like a sentence of like, yeah, I'm using Sam as my shield. I trust him a lot, but I think he can be helpful for my game, and I'm hiding behind him. There you go. That's a strategy. That's what we need. That explains it. That's longevity. Could Sierra get cut because other people want to use Sam as a shield?
Yes.
Positive, apt, 100%. 100%. I think it's clear as day. I think we saw in the next time on Survivor that we finally got the fake showmance thing with Annika calling out Sam and Sierra, even though Sam has a fiance, and I'm pretty sure Sierra's with somebody as well. Like, there you go. Rachel or even Annika sees that and goes, well, I want to be in that spot. I know Sam. Annika says this episode, I know Sam's a big threat.
I want to be in a showmance with Sam.
I want to hide behind Sam, I think is a more apt response. But if people catch on that it's more of a partnership and not Sierra hiding behind Sam, I think it could work for her. I think it could. So we'll just have to see how that turns out. And hopefully it means more of an uptick as the episode goes on. Keyshawn has a little bit of stuff this episode, and he's in his own tier, kind of. Like, I want to say he's in his own tier of, like, he's not hanging on by a tiny thread, but he's not hanging on by a big thread either. He's hanging on like a medium-sized thread.
A regular thread. That's called a rope.
Regular. Rope. Nah.
Too small for a rope.
Maybe string or something like that, like a knot, like a string from a shoe, whatever. Keyshawn has an episode where Teeny tells Keyshawn about the idol. Now Keyshawn knows, and we get an interesting position here, an interesting little tidbit. That makes me put Keyshawn versus Sierra at the bottom because he makes fire and says, oh, by the way, I made fire, not Rome, even though Rome said he was a goat. He was the best at it. I think it's funny. I think Keyshawn is a nice little character to have. And he explained a little bit of strategy as well. Laying low. Keyshawn is doing the opposite of what Rome is doing. Laying low, hiding under the grass. And so far, that's, I think, working wonders for him. And if it comes to next episode and we don't get anything crazy from Keyshawn, I'm not ruling him out. I'm not slashing him. Like, that's my promise. Because I think that there's still a little bit of hope based on what we've seen from the 2 episodes.
My only fear about Keyshawn, though, is that he gives his confessional. He's like, hey, I see what Rome's doing. I want no part in that. I don't want to be in the limelight. Cut to him making fire and everyone celebrating. I think when you contradict yourself like that, even though it was like a fun TV moment, I love Keyshawn as a character. I think we just need more introverts on Survivor. Let's get rid of the extroverts and people who are sociable and make good TV. Just bring out the socially awkward people. Let me tell you. The fact that he contradicted himself, though, is still just a little worrying for me. And that's why I had Sierra above Keyshawn, because I think Sierra just had more outs for a possible winner. However, I kind of set the tier, though, after Kyle and Rome. Like, I just kind of have Sierra and Caroline, who's up next for me, and Keyshawn all in the same bubble. Speaking of next, I accidentally spoiled it. It's not Caroline.
It's not Caroline. But I do think Keyshawn has a lot of longevity. I think if anything, if Teeny trusts Keyshawn on that tribe, and I think he's going to do well because Teeny is clearly the one that is socially integrated the most, has Rome trusting them. I think that as long as Keyshawn can ride that wave of being the socialite's confidant, per se, I think that he can do pretty well and go decently far. But yes, next is Annika.
What's up, Annika?
I'm getting Natalia vibes from Annika. I'm getting a little bit, like she had a stretch let's flash back right to David versus Goliath. I remember that Natalia was always there in the episodes, had a little bit, but like it was nice. It was narrated, but it was always undertoned by this like negativity. Like there was always this little bubble of negativity under there. And it's like the exact same feeling I have with Annika. And while it makes me think it could mean pre-merge, also, I don't know. Because I feel like if we're getting set up with Sam as the big bad of Gata or the game in general, Annika could be the knight to slay the dragon. And so it's a toss-up for me. Because I'm getting Talia vibes, but I also know that's not how they really do their stuff anymore in terms of editing it. So I am Will Weary West.
Will the Weary, I gotcha. I cannot say Weary West anymore. Also, I'm going to answer this question real quick. We have not gone over San Martini. The format basically is we start with the lowest ranked people and get higher. So because we both agree that Sam and Teeny have a lot more winner potential, we just rank them both higher. So yes, that's why we're still talking about like Keyshawn and Kyle and Rome and not, Rachel and Gabe and whoever.
Welcome to the show, though. Welcome to the show.
Yeah,
appreciate you having me.
We love to have you. We love the new people and old people. Speaking of old people, JE. I did not watch the next time on Survivor.
I don't know. I think it's just it's more like I'm joking or am I? Kind of thing. Like it was basically like, so you two are dating now, and it's like it's kind of just a joke. I don't think it's meant to be taken like as a serious accusation or anything.
The Yellow Tribes in Survivor are known for their stability. All I'm saying.
Yes, or instability.
Instability. I was being stoic, caustic. That's the word.
You're being facetious. Maybe.
Facetious. Oh yeah.
In a parallel. What do you think? What do you think? Do you think it's Natalia or what? What do you think? So,
I think she's just in a very weird position right now. A lot of the people in the middle of my rankings, they're kind of in a weird spot where they're not really showing a lot. And when they are shown, it's just a weird vibe from Annika and a few others where it's like we don't know too much about Annika. She's not the center of attention. She did kind of stumble into knowing about the idol, and that kind of complicates things. And then we kind of saw that she told Rachel immediately, which got clocked by Sam and Sierra. And that makes me worried about her potential or longevity because she could just be a pre-merge boot because she's shown enough, but not at all. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a weird vibe.
Yeah, I think. No, I completely agree. I think the scenario that happens if Annika were to go pre-merge is that Andy gets Sam and Sierra on his side, idol or not, and gets Annika sent home because I think, especially after this episode and the next time on Survivor foreshadowing it, I think that it's going to come down to Sam and Annika really butting heads. And Sam deciding, I don't want to work with her. I can't do that. And and the three of them getting rid of Annika. Not Rachel. Because I think Rachel still has a little bit of legs in this.
Yes, we'll get to Rachel as well. Also, another question is, well, how much stock do you put in the intro, like Easter eggs that foreshadow the winner, like 45 and the Philippines? I mean, sometimes it's just coincidence. Sometimes, like, the name gets placed above. I remember last season, like, Hunter's name was placed above everyone else's, even though it was only in the middle. If there's an Easter egg and they're also getting, like, good content, I put stock in it, like, with 45, when Austin said D's the winner and the name thing. It was a few too many coincidences for me to, like, rule it out. But I don't put total stock. Like if I still focus more on what's happening on screen than anything else.
And sometimes we just have to look at the blatant obvious. Like sometimes they say it outright in the episode, And like for the past 2 seasons, they've done that, right? With D is the winner, and I'm pretty sure they did a decent amount of stuff with Kenzie as well.
Yeah, Mermaid Dragon.
Mermaid Dragon, yeah. Like they do that stuff now. There are some obvious giveaways in the episodes, and we just got to keep on the watch for that. But with the content that we get now, we have to just figure it out.
It's new era, not old era.
It is new era. Caroline, next CEO of CBS, maybe. Getting an MBA. Well done. I'll follow you soon enough. But yeah, I have Caroline right in that middle tier. Annika was also joining that middle tier of contenders. It's like they're there. They're hanging on by the rope. Now they're on the rope. And it's an odd kind of position because I think she gets some good insight of being like, I don't trust Gabe at the beginning. But then later on in the episode, she's like, yep, I trust Gabe fully. I trust Gabe. I need to work with Gabe. And so I'm a little like, in terms of winner potential, that doesn't scream a lot to me, but there's still enough there to not get rid of her because we saw this arc of her getting rid of the bromance. You know, she was saying, I'm a bromance spotter. I understand a bromance when I see one, and that's a bromance. I want to get rid of it. Next episode, she gets rid of it. And that's True. Something that pays off, but it's still not a lot.
Yeah. And I feel like Caroline too, her edit so far is still just a little one note. It's less that she's worried about like strategy. I just feel like every time we see her, she's always talking about the bromance, into a lesser extent like Gabe in general and how she doesn't trust any of the boys on the tribe. And I think it's just a little too one-dimensional for me right now. There's nothing else. Like I don't think we've really heard her talk about Sue as much. She might have said it a little bit last episode, or maybe that was just Sue talking about Caroline. I kind of forgot already. My apologies. But because it's just not a lot, I have her ranked a little lower. She's still in that tier with everyone else. It's just, it's a weird group. It's a weird edit.
It's a weird group to place. Like this is the group that are like they could break out. They could have like next episode they have a nice episode. Like like you'll see the educator for I think both of us. But like Caroline's edit steadily built. Whose edit also steadily built? Season 45. D. Not saying it's the same as D, but steady building of an edit. That is something.
Yeah. Caroline's the new winner. She's the new D. I gotcha. I'm hearing you loud and clear. All right.
Just hypothesizing, Will.
Hypothesizing? All right. What are you, a hypotenuse? Exactly.
What?
Exactly. Next slide.
I'm not a hypotenuse. Okay. Next slide. Oh, hey. It's Andy. Hey. When I was thinking about this episode, there were a couple things I was thinking about with Andy. Definitely over the top when everyone's like, we got to keep a watch on him. He's like the clingy ex-boyfriend, all that kind of stuff. The staff challenge, I think, genuinely scared some of the people around me. They were like, oh my God, that's not good. I think the thing that made me push him towards a more middle of the road, and the thing that made me actually moved him up a little bit, which is kind of weird for Andy in terms of winner potential, is that in a way his strategy kind of worked. In a way it worked.
In a way. Okay.
He found the beware. He finds the beware advantage. First time ever, he's like, you know what? I'm gonna leave it. Maybe I'll come back to it later. Couple hours later, he comes back, sees it's gone. It's like, oops, damn it, my bad.
My bad.
Then he makes a really solid move. Tells Sam exactly what happened and how he didn't have it. And Sam didn't need to tell Andy about what was going on with that. But Sam says, I trust Andy a lot more now that he came to me with that information. And if he's only coming to me with that information, maybe I could trust him. Maybe I can use him and work with him. And so, in a way, worked for Andy. Because I think Andy's goal this episode was find a way to at least get a tiny foothold in this tribe. He kind of did that a little bit. Like a little bit.
Like, yeah. That's not why I moved Andy up. I moved Andy
Yeah,
up because this is something I stole from the internet, so my apologies. But it was a point that I never really considered much before, but makes a lot of sense. So obviously a lot of people, they compare Andy to Banu from 46, right? Like just a mess, highly emotional, just kind of like a Charlie Brown figure. But the difference is that when we look at what was it, Yanu 3?
Yeah.
Yes, Yanu 3. I love New Era tribe names. Like Q, Tiffany, and Kenzie, they were all main characters. Like they were like 3 top dogs off Yanu plus Banu, right?
Yeah.
We can't really say the same about Sierra, And I feel like at the same time too, it's like I don't see Sierra being a pre-merge boot unless it was like a Sam downfall thing where it's like idle paranoia and she gets the shaft. Annika too has a weirder edit. Rachel will get to Rachel. Like the main characters honestly has been Andy and Sam, and then to a lesser extent Rachel, and then to an even lesser extent Annika, and then Sierra is just there. I feel like that could lead into more Andy longevity. I think that could mean that Andy has more outs in the future. And if he gets to another tribe, through a swap, a merge, or what have you, who knows what Andy can do, and who knows how much people will put stock into Andy's outburst at the first challenge. Because I compare that to Emily Flippin's monologue, speech, what have you, at the premiere of 45, and how that wasn't really brought up during merge. I mean, again, too, there's the swap, and so, whatever. But it's all things to keep in mind when discussing Andy. And that's part of why I have him at number 8, which is kind of insane.
It is, but like you can't deny, like they want to show main characters in the new era. They want to have main characters, and they're going to be around for a while most of the time. And I think Andy is going to be that. And the longer he's in the game, the longer he gets a foothold, the longer he chills out. I think it'll work out for him.
Oh yeah.
We moved to Tiana, who had a bigger episode. Don't talk while she's sleeping, or else she's going to vote you out. But yes, she is the quintessential decision maker of the episode. She decides to get rid of TK. My opinion, the best move for her was to do that, because I think that as long as you can find a way, like she wouldn't do that. I don't think Tiana would have gotten rid of TK or have been like completely willing to get rid of TK on the first vote if she didn't feel like she could get Kyle's trust back. Like there's got to be some part of her that's be like, yeah, I can get Kyle's trust back after this. And so that's why she did it, in my opinion. That's like the biggest reason why, because that was her whole thing holding her back. And so Tiana is that decision maker. She moves up in the rankings. She's got some content. She's got some things she's talking about. And yeah, I mean, she's there. She's there. She's she's doing what she needs to do, outlining her strategy, outlining the emotion versus the strategy, the decision that happens single season of Survivor every single minute. But it's something you always need.
Oh yeah. Do you think it would have made more sense for her to have the vote tie? That way she could tell the story to Kyle, like, hey, sorry, man, I tried voting with you. Did not want to go to Rock for TK. I hope you understand. I think that could have made more sense.
I don't know. I think you have to put it in terms of Kyle's perspective. I think if Kyle saw that you were you originally voted with them and then flipped on the revote, shows that you were scared and that you were a coward and that you weren't really going to stick with your allies the whole time. Whereas if you just do it off the jump, I think it might hurt a little bit less. Like, it's like giving false hope. Like, if you give Kyle false hope that maybe it's going to work and that rocks are going to happen and that you'll be fine, and then take it out from under him, I think that's worse than just doing it off the jump.
But at the same time, too, this was like after Gabe played his idol, I think there's still an even bigger excuse where it can be like, hey, Gabe was immune as well. Rocks would have been between what? Tiana, Kyle, and whoever else.
Caroline.
Like
Yep.
that's a 2/3 chance of one of them going. The odds are in Caroline's. Like it would have made more sense on paper, and so I think especially then it would have made sense for Tiana to give the potential of a tie vote.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. I think Tiana is a very weird character because she's just kind of in the middle in terms of visibility. Like in the last 2 episodes, she's not the main character, but she's not invisible either. And I feel like Tuku is a tribe that might be a little dysfunctional. They have a lot of beef. There's a lot of cracks all around.
Yeah.
I'm curious on how Tiana fits because we've really heard about the trio with Caroline, Gabe, and Sue, and then the Boys Alliance, and how Tiana was just kind of a fourth, later third in the Boys Alliance.
Yeah, so I mean, it definitely could be her being ostracized because of this decision. She makes the wrong call. She goes home soon enough after it. But I also think, I think this will probably happen, Jay. I think that because she wants to work with Kyle. If she were to turn on Kyle, it would be done deal. That's that. The girls and Gabe. I think that as long as Tiana can find a way to get back to Kyle and work with him, that I think she'll do fine. Because I think as long as Kyle has her back, I think it'll work out for her. So, all right. We are going to take a break, and then we are going to come back. Final tier of contenders, the top.
Think you're the most knowledgeable Survivor superfan? Well, you can put that to the test with our Fantasy Survivor game. Welcome to Bracketology, fantasy sports for reality TV. We provide fantasy football style games for your favorite shows like Survivor and many more. We also have bracket style elimination challenges. Set your picks once for the whole season to see how your prediction skills fared. And don't forget to check out the season extras like contestant info, where you can see all the bios of each contestant, and our scoring recaps that are published each episode. Download the Bracketology mobile app or play on your computer at fantasy.bracketology.tv. It's entirely free to play, and you can win some awesome prizes. Good luck.
Yeah, definitely do that. They just got a giant commercial with the Masked Singer for Bracketology. Ooh. So they're getting really popular really quick. And we'll
grew up so fast.
I know, right? So definitely get on that wave. It's awesome. But now we move to Sue, who is at the bottom of the top, I guess. And also, don't disrupt her slumber. Epic boss girl move. Sue Smee. Absolutely cooking this episode. Kind of an episode where she was mostly kind of making the decision to go after TK because of the sleeping thing. Can be seen as emotional, but in my opinion, why Sue is still here at a top contender range is because of the way the conversation with Tiana was framed. Like her and Tiana's conversation, she did a really good job making Tiana feel like they were working together on getting rid of TK, and that it was Tiana's prerogative to do that. It wasn't Sue being like, this is what we have to do. We have to do this. Whereas TK was saying, we have to get rid of Sue. Sue was saying, what do we do? What are you thinking? Should we get rid of TK? Like, it was more of a we and not as much a you should kind of thing. And I think that worked.
It definitely worked out. I mean, the only reason why Tiana was skeptical was because she didn't want to burn that bridge with Kyle, not that she didn't want to make the move or that she wanted Sue gone. I think Sue, my only fear with Sue is that I feel like I could just be wrong here. It just feels like the edit we've seen before with like Maria and who was
Julie. Yeah,
where it's like she's like in the social best position on the tribe. You know, a lot of people are going to her. She's making decisions. It's still just one note, but it's kind of like how we viewed Austin last time, where it's like we just have him at number 5, number 6 the entire season, and that's that. I think that's how we're going to view Sue for the rest of the season, where she's just going to be consistently hovering around 5, 6, maybe 4 as time goes on. She makes it, to the finale, might have her like number 3 at best. And she's kind of like, I don't know, bottom of the highest tier,
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree. I think she is riding on that wave of Austin. She's going to be here. I think she's going to be here for a while. I don't think she's going to go home anytime soon. I think she's going to ride that wave. Like Maria, could be exactly like Julie. Do we see anything? Do you see any sign that there's a chance she's not in that position? That she gets maybe eliminated as a threat? I think that in terms of winning, it's the least. I think it's the 5th, 6th place the most. You see a chance where she gets eliminated like 9th, 8th, or somewhere around there as the big threats start to go home?
Yeah, I mean, no, I don't.
No.
Because she's getting talked at as not a big threat, and no one's really I don't know. Ooh, new merch. Go get it now. SurvivorNowPodcast.com. You're distracting me. You know I have ADD. No, I feel like it's anything's possible. It's just, again, we've seen someone like Sue before twice already now with Maria and Julie. I think it's possible that she's a big threat. I think it's more likely, though, where she's just in a good position, makes it far because she's not going to be too much of a physical threat, and then gets voted out like final 5 or even loses fire, maybe.
Yeah,
but
I think there is a chance that I think she gets eliminated earlier than 5th or 6th. I think there is a slim chance of that because I think now that people have seen how well Julie did, I think they're going to be more wary of that. And so if they see Sue being a kick-ass bomb on the show, they may want to get rid of her earlier than later. We go to Teeny now, who has a pretty rough episode, I'd say. Getting caught by Rome, trying to frame it in a way that worked for them. I get it. Smart play. But Rome does not trust Teeny now. And so if Rome were to find a way to navigate it to where he says he's not using the idol or is using it on somebody else, everybody votes for Rome. Rome plays on himself. He could vote for Teeny, which would be crazy. But definitely moves Teeny down in the contender ranks because of the move that they pulled. And can Teeny recover? I think, yeah. I mean, considering that it's Rome that doesn't trust them,
that's why.
Considering that it's Rome that doesn't trust them and it's not anybody else, like I think Keyshawn trusts Teeny more now. I think Teeny can easily recover from this. I think it's just a blunder of an episode, but it could turn into something bigger. Could.
I mean, I'm just saying winners typically they blunder. They're not perfect players. This could be a perfect example of this, where Teeny makes a mistake, rebounds. The fact that it's Rome, the fact that Keyshawn was there, I feel like Keyshawn isn't the type of player to go after the big threats or the big strategic forces early on, which I think Teeny would be on Lavo. I don't know where Soul's head's at, but I think Aisha still trusts Teeny to a certain extent because who else would she trust? Certainly not Rome. I think that 3 is a solid core. I know Genevieve was kind of in there before. Who knows? I don't think it was a catastrophic episode. I think Teeny does rebound from this. And the fact that it was Rome was very, very lucky because I don't think Rome has a lot of stock even on the island.
Yeah, absolutely. And plus Teeny is match chat. So, I mean, like if we're going on that match chat principle that the match chats are back and they're the way to tell if there's actually a contender or not. Yeah, Teeny's got a shot. Sam.
Yeah. You know who also has a match chat?
Who?
Andy and John.
Did Gabe have one? I'm pretty sure Gabe had one too.
Yep, Gabe had one.
Keep that in mind.
It was Gabe, Teeny, Andy, and John.
Well, John went home, so let's keep that in mind, everybody. So Sam, he has a breakout episode going CP5, over the top strategist. Clearly the wolf in wolf's clothing, as he described in episode 1. Definitely that wolf. Could it come back to bite him? Absolutely. I'm getting a little bit of Drew from 45. Not in terms of the nerdiness, not in terms of the, that stuff, or maybe even the cockiness, but in terms of raw edit and raw look, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think this episode was a really, really good episode. It was just a little worrying because I think it's too good. It's too much. Sam's a little too visible. Already getting pegged as a big threat. Episode 2 is not that good of a stigma to have, especially from Annika as well. If it was like Sierra who said that and like they weren't tight and Sarah had her edit and she's called Sam a threat, I would put less stock into it. But Annika is a semi-developed character, and so that's why I ranked Sam down from 3 to 5. Yeah. Because being the wolf, episode 2 is not the play. It does just worry me a little too much.
Never is. And Jay with a good point. Or it could be Charlie 2.0, maybe getting a decoy winner in it, because Charlie had a lot of content throughout, especially early on. Charlie had a lot of stuff that was good. And so, yeah, I mean, like, I think the next time on Survivor says that he says, I'm pissed in the confessional right after the Sam Sierra call out by Annika. So that could be interesting to see. But I think it's the tale as old as time here. I think I move Sam up because it's like almost natural to move someone up after a good episode like that, or a big episode like that, rather. But that does not mean I have more confidence in him as a winner. I don't. I don't. And so right now I'm kind of teetering on this edge of next episode's really bad. He's going way down. If next episode he doesn't get a lot, he'll stay right about here. Now we move to Gabe, who I don't know what you've seen. I'm not really on Reddit as much anymore.
I'm on Reddit all the time.
Do you see comparisons to Russell Hantz for Gabe?
No, I don't see it. Russell Hantz?
Because I do. Here's why, right? The idol misplay, playing it immediately, right away, the skill at which finding the idol, the speed at which finding the idol, the ruthlessness in the voting confessional, voting out TK, the working with the women, it's all Russell Hantz. Like every single play he's done is a little Hantsian. Not burning socks, not being an absolute asshole, but every strategic play he's done is it's a little Hantsian, I'm not going to lie. Like, that's what I think. What do you think?
Yeah. I just think I would agree if Sue did not like Gabe. Not trust, but like Gabe. I think TK did not trust Gabe, but still considered him as one of the boys. Who cares what Kyle says? We only really hear about Gabe in a negative light through Caroline and through TK. And even then, Caroline kind of changed her mind on Gabe. She started riding the Gabe train. I think it might be like a little bit like Russell Hantz, but a little more subdued. I think Gabe's right now in a really weird spot, but I think it's working out. And I think he does have a lot of winner potential because of how weird it is and how many outs he has so far.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. Yeah, that's the biggest difference for me is that Sue actually likes Gabe. He's got a lot of outs. He worked on this bond with Caroline, and that worked this episode for him, which is really solid for his chances. Has him at chat, that's a thing as well. Keeping that in mind. I move Gabe up because personally, again, we're talking about big characters, right? We're talking about people that are on the screen and people that are going to make it a while. Gabe's right there. Gabe's right there. He's a big character. He's going to be on the screen for a little while. And I think that we're talking about that as a winner contender. You can't get more new era winner than that. A big character, getting stuff early on. Some of it's negative, but some of it's positive. Some of it's working for him. And so I think time will tell, but I think right now Gabe is like my number 2 or 3 option as a winner. I think that while it's a little handsy and this could happen, Gabe getting to final tribal and getting no votes, I do also think that he's playing a little bit more savvy than Russell Hens.
Yeah.
Now we go to Rachel. The final slide on this list. We don't have an Asia slide because she was a ghost. Stealing rice, which originally I had negative. I put it as a negative tone on Edgic until we rewatched the episode and thought this is just funny. Like it's just a funny scene. So I tone.
Good.
Yeah, we get stuff from Rachel, and that's about all you need to know. We get stuff from Rachel, keeping her in the mix, moving her down only because I think Gabe had a little bit of a better episode, at least on my end. Like Gabe had a little bit of a better episode, but I still think Rachel's there while she's working with Annika pretty tightly, and Sam clocked that pretty easily. I do think that she will be the one that survives out of that Annika-Rachel duo if Sam Sierra flips and works with Andy. And so I think Rachel's longevity is really, really, really high. I think it's really high.
Oh, yeah. I think I was a little concerned when Rachel had nothing the entire episode until we saw the challenge, where I feel like if that did not happen, right, if she didn't try to steal rice and had that fun little scene, I think she would have had content in another way, right? She would have been shown in some light. I think right now it's kind of circumstantial that her big edit revolved around Andy and the idol play. However, I think she's getting enough content despite having, a parasite like Andy. I've always thought she had a very level head on her shoulders. She's a very crafty player. And I think trying to steal the rice could be an indication that she's going to be a very savvy player. Someone who could make it far. A lot of people on Reddit seem to disagree. They actually have Rachel pretty low. They're fully on the Sam and Teeny train, but I'm rocking with Rachel and Aisha right now. I did move Rachel down, but that's mainly because I moved Aisha up. I thought having a cooldown episode, I think just she's having a better edit because she was talking about the tribe. Well, Rachel, it was more personally based.
Yeah. This is a really good point, Jay's Rachel been getting a ride for 40. Yeah, I mean, there's potential. There's potential. You can see a bit of potential there. All right, we are gonna move on to the last part of the show. You know what it is.
Woo! Yo,
there it is. Sick cutaway, the Edgic battle. Let's go over some key differences, like some really key differences that we have here. Let's start with Rome. I think Rome's the one I want to see here. Why do you have him as middle of the road and not over the top?
That's a good point. Why did I do that? I think my rationale was, I think him trusting Teeny with the idol play. I don't think that was necessarily like an over the top thing. I think it was a move that did not work. But I don't think Rome, he didn't look like a dodo from that. It wasn't like an overly bad play. It was just a small blunder. I think I view over the top more like Andy's whole shenanigans from episode 1 or going out of his way to find the idol. So
then why do you have Teeny as over the top medium then? That's an interesting one for me.
Okay. Over the top mixed because I still think having Keyshawn and I don't know, man. Wanting to work with because it's also Rome, right? So it's mixed because it's like it's negative, but at the same time doesn't really matter. You know.
Yeah, sure.
I
No, I
stretched
get it.
to Complex Personality 4. That was cool. That's a cool pick for me.
Yeah,
Um,
I like it. I like your work.
Thank you.
I think the only one I would really change is Rome to over the
Yeah.
top negative because that whole scene where he was so cocky. I think there's no way he gets anything better than that.
I forgot about his opening monologue. I forgot about
Yeah.
that part. I think I was focused on the idol part. I forgot about his second scene. Don't edgic at 2 a.m., kids.
Don't edgic at 2 a.m. But yes, other than that, I think your edgic's pretty solid. I agree with most of the takes here. What I'm interested to see, a couple key trends that I want to point out for both of us. Rachel's getting a very cookie cutter winner edit in terms of just raw numbers. So keep that in mind. Sam, same kind of deal, getting a little bit of a raw, like Charlie type edit. If we want to talk about true like Kenzie edit, maybe a little bit of Gabe, certainly having a little bit of that. Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on like any final thoughts, what it looks like, what it could mean?
No, I'm just curious why you have Genevieve as under the radar 1 and not invisible. He was not shown at all.
It's a good question. I never do invisible anymore.
Okay.
I never do invisible because unless literally if you're not shown if you're not shown on screen once the entire episode, even for like a half a second, you're not on screen. Like if you're genuinely like non-existent on the show for an episode, I guess you can get invisible. But Genevieve was there for like a half a second, and that to me is like everyone is there at least just like a tiny little bit, and so that is under the radar 1 and not invisible, and that's why I always do under the radar 1. So, yeah, that's the edgic. That's the battle. Get ready for week 3 where we're about to go bananas on the edgic. Will
Jack.
This has been the stocks.
There have been the stocks indeed. Anything you'd like to say before we head out?
Oh wow, turning it on me. I like it.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
As always, got something for you. It's Saturday at 3. They got Sifu on the podcast. That's going to be a fun episode, I'm sure. So make sure you tune into that. Well, unfortunately, Ollie's out on vacation right now, but I think you'll get Phil, you get Matthew, and you will get Sifu on that. Try to survive the hurricane. Make sure you're alive. I'm going out to class right after this.
Ooh, I'm going to West Virginia.
Yeah, we're both gonna brave the storm right after this podcast. But Will, do you have any closing thoughts?
If you are in Charlestown, West Virginia tonight, come to the American Legion. See Saving Bruce.
Go see Saving Bruce, everyone.
We
thank you. We thank you for your time watching Survivor StockWatch Episode 2, and we will see you next episode for what is sure to be more of people hating each other, which is always why we watch Survivor.
I love reality TV.